Okay, we're recording, so for those of you who are at home, welcome. Welcome for those of you who are here for this live class. You will need 2 blocks today. If you only have one, no big deal. If you have a choice, grab your foam blocks, okay? You might want a blanket, and then grab a ball. You might pause the video here and grab a ball. Tennis ball will work, a rolling ball, whatever you've got for some pressure work, some marma points at the end of class. Keep one block close and we'll lie down on our back. And you can press into your feet and take your block on its low level underneath the bones of your pelvis. Not in your low back, but underneath your pelvis. And your feet can be planted, your knees on top of your ankles. You might even let your knees fall a little bit in. And feel free to close your eyes and land. Land and locate the areas of your body that are making contact with the earth. If there's a window in your space, you might even look out of it, connecting with the changing of seasons. And start to bring your awareness, if it feels okay, to your breathing. And you can put your hands here on your low belly. And check in, can you feel any expansion, contraction with your breathing here in your low belly, underneath your ribs? Perhaps you notice if you're holding in this area and there's an opportunity to let any unnecessary tension go right now. Giving that space to yourself. And you might encourage a rising of your belly on your in-breath and a falling of your belly on your out-breath. And then you can take your hands to your low ribs. So you might let them rest elbows wide, or you could cross your arms on your chest and have opposite hands touch opposite low ribs. And sense if you feel any movement into your low ribs with your breath. This is the region of your diaphragm, your primary muscle of respiration. Can you feel some lateral expansion side to side? Maybe you slow your breath down. Swirling your breathing around your heart. And then you can move your hands, if it's comfortable, to your collarbones or just underneath your collarbones, or a hand on your heart, upper chest, a little higher than your physical heart, but at the center. And can you feel any breathing up high? Any move, of course you're feeling breathing, but any movement with the breath. Right up under your collarbones. Your lung tissue goes all the way up to your collarbones, so can you expand with your in-breath all the way up to the top of your chest, and soften on your exhale. Last thing here, your hands can go wherever you like. And can you feel a wave of breath? So when you breathe in, fill your belly, your low ribs, your upper ribs. And when you exhale, empty your upper ribs, your low ribs, and your belly. Kind of like you're pouring tea into a cup, filling from bottom to top, and then emptying from top to bottom. Last couple moments, riding that wave. And if you're distracted, no big deal, give it time. Noticing that you're distracted is a part of the practice. And then you can take your hands on your low ribs here, and we'll let one leg at a time come into the air. Now you can straighten your legs or keep them a little bit bent, right? And then you can start to bend your knees and and straighten them. And try to keep your inner knees together here. Bend and straighten. And you have a choice. You can have your knees a little closer in towards your chest if you like, or maybe a little further away. And notice if there's any sounds, any little Rice Krispies happening in your knees. And is it possible to soften your superficial tissue, like your quads and your hamstrings a bit, and see if that makes the sounds a little quieter. You might do this for 3, for 2, and for 1. And then separate your knees, separate your feet with your legs skyward and rotate out through your ankles. Go one direction, 5, 4, 3. Try to carve out the edges of that rotation. 1, and then switch sides for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend your knees, keep your knees wide, hands on your knees or hands on your upper legs, and start to circle your knees away from you and then in towards you, kind of egg beater style, and switch directions. And again, keep going with this and see if you notice any clickety-clacks in your hips, any little thunks and pops and Rice Krispie sounds. And you might close your eyes and check out if you can make a few rotations that are a little bit more buttery, a little bit more silent. And it's okay if they're not, if your body's louder this morning. Let it speak. But see if you can shift the size of your circles or like the speed of them and get a couple smooth rotations. Maybe switch directions again. And then let your feet come down to the ground. And let your abdomen fall a little closer to the floor so there's just a little whisper of abdominal tone. Take your hands in front of your face in prayer fashion and take your arms over your head like the first movement of a sun salutation and then back down to your chest. Just like that. So we'll keep going with that. And as you're doing that, can you notice if your chest is lifting and lowering? If it's coming into a bit of a back bend when your arms are overhead, and if it's lowering when your hands come down. And let's put some emphasis in keeping your chest still. So keep your low ribs heavy to the ground and try to get this overhead movement without any compensation in your upper back. And you can do this for 5, for 4, maybe with your breathing, for 3. Can your head get a little heavier? Can your chest get a little heavier for 2? It's like you're tugging those arm lines into more length for 1. And then come to the center and straighten your arms towards the ceiling with your palms towards each other. And we're going to flap our wings. So we open up till we hover above the ground with our hands and then close up. So we're going to open up and stretch through your fingers. Let your chest get heavy and close. So you're opening and closing your wings. If you want a little more abdominal work, you can let your legs come up, bring your knees and big toes together, and even tip them a little bit away from you and tone the front of your abdomen. So you're not coming into a back bend here. And you might do this for 5, for 4, for 3, and stretching through your fingers apart from your sternum for 2, and for 1. Okay, hands together. Choose to have your legs up or not. Backs of the palms together, and it's like you're swimming a bit. So breaststroke, open and close, and really stretch apart the fascia at the front of your chest through your collarbones. As you slow motion open, reach your fingers away from your sternum. Keep going with it for 5. Notice if you feel anything in your elbows and your wrists for 3, for 4, for 3, for 2, and for 1. Okay, let's take our legs down to the floor. We're gonna press into our feet, move the block out to the side, and roll over onto one side so you can see me. I'm on my right side here. Either hold your head in your hand or let your head fall down arm long. So your head is on your bicep. And then can you lift up your feet and keep your inner edges of your feet together and lift your top knee. So it's kind of like your bottom leg is holding your top leg in space. You might start to feel a little bit of work on your outer hips. Then your left arm can come up into the air and start to circle your left shoulder. It's like you're holding a pencil and drawing a circle on the ceiling. So again, if you're hearing those clickety clacks or clunks, that's okay. But can you adjust the speed and the range so that you have a couple buttery circles and you might switch directions? This is like muscle memory for your joints, so that they get into a little bit more proper positioning, which actually allows them to open with a little less threat to your nervous system. Okay, let's do one more circle and relax everything down. Switch sides. I'm gonna pick myself up and turn myself. You might roll over onto the other side. Hold your head or outstretch your arm and then pop your legs up so that your inner feet are touching, your knees are apart, and you might feel work on your outer hips. Then your top arm can create those circles. You could even close your eyes. Sometimes I find that useful to forget about what I look like and what anybody else looks like and explore the feeling. This is a yogic practice called pratyahara, sense withdrawal, or choosing what you want your senses to attach to. You could switch directions, go for a couple more buttery, perhaps quieter circles. And then let everything go there. Nice. We're going to transition onto our hands and our knees. And on hands and knees and tabletop, let's press the ground away and then circle through our wrists with a strong, straight arm effort. Go for 3, for 2, and for 1. Come into the center, bring your knees a bit back, knees together, and rainbow your hips side to side. So you can go as low as you want to. If this is a little harder on your wrists, you can always come down onto your forearms. For 3, for 2, and for 1. Walk it back up, walk your knees back under your hips, and switch one hand around so that your fingers point towards your knees. And with that one hand, or you can do both, option to do one at a time or both, can you shift back and forwards? And when you're shifting back, you might peel the heel of your hand off the ground. You might even bend your elbows a bit. Just go for that pleasurably intense feeling that feels, productive enough, but also nourishing. If you're doing one hand, go for the other for a couple more. And you can also press your fingertips into the floor and do a few of those circles and see how that feels, moving the emphasis point around. Come into the middle, shake it out. Hands forwards, tuck toes, downward facing dog for a hot second. Pedal it out. And we're gonna walk our hands and feet a little closer together. Let your feet go wide. And either bend your elbows to your knees and find a dangle, or you might dangle a little further down into your forward fold. Some of you might explore straightening your legs. Wherever you land, can you find a wave breath? And that might slow your process down a bit. Great, okay, so we're gonna roll on up. Some of you know that coming up with a straighter spine is better for you, or you can let your tailbone sink, engage your hamstrings and roll on up, taking your hips more on top of your ankles. As you come up, come to standing.